All right, as we enter the 9th straight day of protest, not only across the United States, here in Canada and around the world, you start to wonder, why now? Horrific killings. This is the tragedy of black men and women have occurred many times in the past at the hands of police. What is it about the George Floyd incident that is sparking such an intense reaction? And can former President Barack Obama, who's about to give a virtual town hall on the protest in moments, and we'll take that to you live, ease tensions? Let me get some insight now from Cornell Williams Brooks. He is the former CEO and the president of the NAACP and a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School. Sir, first of all, I appreciate you joining us. Tell me what you believe, this horrific incident, what is different from what we've seen before, sir?
Well, what is different about this particular tragedy is that the video is different from the videos in the past. And here's what I mean. It's not unusual, tragically, for black men to be killed at the hands of the police and for there to be dash cam video or video. In this instance, we have cell phone video, which shows a pornographically violent crime. It takes place seemingly in slow motion over the course of almost 9 minutes. And it is a violently intimate crime, which is to say the victim, George Floyd, is not being shot at a distance, but he's literally being asphyxiated, strangled up close with an officer's knee. That has revolted and revulsed not only people across the length and breadth of America, but the length and breadth of Canada and literally around the world.
Let me ask you about the response to this. What do you make of the president's response? And what do you make of the fact that he is now threatening to call in the military under the Insurrection Act? What do you make of that authority?
The president's response, both in tone, in content of message, and as a matter of policy, is presidentially irresponsible. In other words, to go into an already tense situation of escalated emotions and anxiety, and to call up the military to essentially militarize the conflict makes bad worse. In other words, where we have police departments all across the U.S. and around the world who have learned that in tense situations, you want to de-escalate, not escalate. So to escalate this conflict with people in green, as in military uniforms, along with those in blue, that is to say police uniforms, makes bad worse. The president is not doing what he should do, both as a matter of what he threatens to do and what he has said.
Here's his, he uses Twitter a lot. Here's his pinned tweet to over 80 million people, sir. I want your reaction. My administration has done more for the black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. I've passed opportunity zones. I've guaranteed funding for HBCUs, school choice, criminal justice reform, lowest black unemployment, poverty, and crime rates in history. That's his pinned tweet. What's your response to that?
My response is that for much of his administration, he has managed not to undo what Barack Obama did for him, which is to say to give him a robust economy. Up until the last 2 months or so, he has managed not to mess that up. He has messed it up, and black people, African Americans, benefited from that robust economy. But what he has also done is he's made race relations worse. He has literally driven rifts and divides between people across this country. He has failed to enforce the nation's civil rights laws. He has accelerated voter suppression. He has sided with white nationalists against black people, against Jews, against immigrants, against people all across this country. He has been the poster child for a bad president. And African Americans, rightly, are not going to vote for him.
Let me ask you one last question. Sure. No one knows where this is headed, sir. I know you don't. No one's got a crystal ball here. The protests are continuing. The violence is continuing. We're just waiting for Barack Obama. Nothing's going to settle here. Can you give us your sense about where this is headed, what course this may take, and what it's doing to your country?
I think what we have to appreciate here is what you're seeing in the streets is not merely anger, but frustrated hope. And it is my belief that hope will ultimately prevail. In other words, people in the middle of a pandemic are willing to stand up for their rights guaranteed under the American Constitution and willing to stand up as their conscience compels them to do. That is a good thing. It is a civically virtuous thing. So it is my belief that people will continue to protest, continue to demonstrate, continue to put their convictions on the line, and ultimately, I believe justice will prevail. Why? Because we have literally not seen, certainly in recent memory, this degree of, yes, civil unrest, but yes, a conscience awakened and people committed to reform in this country, seeking ultimately an end to police brutality.
All right. Well, the old saying goes, the arc of history bends towards justice, and we only hope it does, sir. Cornell Brooks, always a pleasure, sir. Appreciate your perspective very much. Thank you.